had a shower today. I have some weird stain on my shirt and my living room's a mess, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Hey guys, Jen here with Chaos and Grace. A couple days ago I did a live stream for you guys about having patience with homeschooling, which if you missed that I will pop the link for the replay up here in an iCard. But I got some questions afterwards, just kind of general questions, and I felt like maybe I should do my first Q&A here on YouTube. So I posted on my Insta stories to see what kind of questions you guys had for me. I opened that up. So I have a list of questions here that I want to answer for you. Okay, so I've got two questions here that I'm going to kind of tie together because I feel like they kind of go together. So one question was, how long have you been homeschooling? And I have another one that was, how long do you want to homeschool? So we started homeschooling, well, we're in our 7th year. We're in our 7th year of homeschooling. And we want to homeschool as long as that is God's plan for us. We really enjoy homeschooling. We enjoy the freedom it allows us. We enjoy the, being able to customize our kids' learning. I did do another video on all the reasons why we started homeschooling and why we love it so much. But basically, to hit the highlights of that, we started homeschooling because my son was very sick and the school district really just couldn't provide the services that he needed to help him thrive. So we started homeschooling, and the more we do it, the more we fall in love with it, the more I fall in love with it, the more the kids fall in love with it. My husband, I know, enjoys us being able to visit him at work and do those things because sometimes he works some crazy long hours. So yeah, lots of freedoms, lots of learning opportunities that are great and awesome that I just don't want to give up. So as long as it is in God's plan for us to do, we will continue to homeschool. And currently our plan is to homeschool all the way through high school. What curriculum are we using? Now we have an eclectic kind of gathering of homeschool curriculum. I've done so many things in the past. I've done Rotten Staff, I've done Matthew C, I've done teaching textbooks, I've done The Good and the Beautiful, we've done some Rebecca stuff, we've done a lot of stuff. My favorites are Matthew C for math when we're starting out. Once they get to where they can start teaching textbooks, then I switch them over. They really enjoy doing computer math, as they call it, and it's more fun, and I'm absolutely awful in math, so I'm really glad that that exists so that I have basically another teacher for math to take that over. For language arts, we used to do Rotten Staff. It really wasn't a great fit for any of my kids, so we are now doing The Good and the Beautiful. Once I discovered that, we were all in with it. I absolutely love The Good and the Beautiful. We've had a lot of success with them. It's been a huge blessing for us. It's just been such a great fit for my kids that are dyslexic, for my son that has a lot of sensory needs, for Wyatt who has OCD. So there's a lot of different good things about it that are just a good fit. Now, it's not a curriculum that's specifically meant for those things, but in their learning styles and in just the way the curriculum is organized and the flexibility of it and the fact that it's really, really easy for me to modify if I need to, it's been a great, great fit for them. So The Good and the Beautiful, teaching textbooks, and Matthew C. History and science, and if you guys are interested in this, I can do a more detailed video on exactly how I do this, and let me know in the comments if it's something you're interested in. But I decided to ditch our history and science curriculum. The short version as to why is my kids just really struggle sitting through history. They really don't enjoy it, and they really don't retain a whole lot of it. I really hope that that train noise isn't a little ridiculously loud. So I've worked very hard at trying to get my kids to work individually and together in a way where they can focus. So it's kind of a delicate balance to get Wyatt in his environment where he's going to focus and not have distraction from Caleb, who needs a whole lot more physical kind of kinesthetic learning, and then Jackson, who needs mostly, like, I'm talking 95% one-on-one work. He needs me there the entire time, and part of that is his personality, part of it's his learning style, and part of it's his dyslexia. Dyslexic kids don't have super high confidence, and he tends to doubt everything he does. So I need to be there to encourage him. So when it comes to a group study like history, which is really the best way for us to do it, is a group study, because if not, I would literally be doing school from the time we start until my husband gets home. That is not how we want our homeschool to work. So we don't do that. So I have a totally different way of doing that, and that is pretty much to unschool it. I pretty much just give them a list of topics, and I piece together unit studies that are a lot more interesting and engaging for them. Again, if you guys want more information, more detailed information, or maybe like to walk through a unit study or a lesson that I've put together for them, if you want me to film like kind of a day of how we do that, let me know in the comments and I will be happy to do that for you guys. For science, it's a similar thing. We are really heavy into science. We love science. All of us do. But there's just so many broad topics that everybody wants to tackle. So I really just kind of leave it open. They pick topics that they want to learn about, and between our books, the library, random pieces of curriculum that I have, and then just getting out into the world and experiencing things hands-on. We do a lot in nature. We do a lot outside. We do a lot of experiments, a lot of field trips, just a lot of everything. Science is probably the easiest thing for me to teach because they're so engaged with it already. They're so interested in it already. So how I have them do science, how I have them record it, is I have them, they each have, and I'll link a day in the life where you can see kind of a lesson of how Caleb did a study on bees that he wanted to do, because we're talking about adding bees to our homestead. So I have, like, you know, a notebook, and it's like a mixed multimedia kind of notebook that doesn't have lines or anything, it's just paper. And then they'll study on the topic that they're interested in, and then they will journal about it. So they'll draw pictures, or they'll write notes, or both, or, you know, they'll do whatever. So I let them have the freedom to do that. That kind of helps with the creativity and the art that, again, it's not my forte. They can get a little bit of that and be creative with it, which also really helps with dyslexia and a lot of Caleb's fine motor movements that he struggles with because of sensory processing disorder. Also, The Good and the Beautiful is a curriculum that is kind of bundled with a bunch of different things. So depending on your level, you'll have grammar, you'll have writing, you'll have reading, you'll have spelling, geography, and it's Christian based. So there's a lot of topics where you can go in and you're prompted to research things in the Bible, and then you write papers on it, and there's so much, it covers so much. A lot of our day is spent in The Good and the Beautiful language arts curriculum. What kind of Bible curriculum do I use is another question. I don't use a set Bible curriculum. Like I said, The Good and the Beautiful curriculum is Christian based, and our science follows creation. We're very involved in our church, and I tend to, between our regular school curriculum and what they're doing in church, I feel like they get it. And then just how we're trying to teach in our daily life, I feel like the example and how you're trying to lead a Christian life to be more Christ-like is a better example than sitting down and studying a piece of paper. How did I catch my son up with The Good and the Beautiful? So I did a video about how we got caught up gracefully. I think the title, Catching Up Gracefully, I think was the name of the title. I'll link it up here for you guys to check out if you're interested in. My son was very behind in his language arts, in like all of them, all parts of language arts, except reading, because he's a really strong reader. So the first thing I want to say about it is I would not have been able to catch him up if it wasn't something that he didn't want, because he's a teenager, and if he's not on board with it, it's just not going to happen. I mean, there's only so much of sit down and do this you can do before you're really just talking to a wall. I think with teenagers, now I'm very early and I'm very new at this mom of teenagers thing, but I really think that they just kind of come to a point where you have to have a shift between disciplinarian and influence, and really just kind of show them how to make the right choice, and that really it benefits them to put the hard work in. And he did it. And he did extra lessons totally by choice on most days, and then on the weekends he did extra work. And yeah, I had to push him, but I was pushing him to stay on top of his goals, because it was pretty much, you do this and buckle down and get it done, or you're not going to graduate on time, and that's your choice because it's your future. So what do you want to do? And he wanted to graduate on time, and which was a big decision because he's got friends and family that are a year behind him, so they're going to graduate next year. So he could have graduated with them, and in our co-op we do like a graduation ceremony and have a little party and stuff, so he could have done that with them, but he really wanted to move on to high school for next year. So it was mostly him. I can't take the credit for it. All I did was basically help him stay on top of his goals and keep him organized and know when he's got something and we can skip it and we can move ahead. because if he's got it, there's no use beating a dead horse. You just move on, keep going, keep at a good pace. So that's pretty much it. I mean, it was not something super complicated. It was pretty simple. I mean, it wasn't simple as in terms like it was an easy thing to do. It wasn't. It was hard, but it wasn't a super complicated process. It was just kind of good old-fashioned hard work. So the last two questions that I got that I want to answer together is, how do I get them to sit and learn, and what do I do if a child won't do a certain kind of schoolwork? So this kind of goes together because the way we don't have a whole lot of I don't want to do school. Of course, all kids have days where school, we don't want to do it. But I let my kids kind of do their own thing. I let them pick what they're going to start their day with. I let them pick what area of the house they want to work in. If they want to work together, then that's great. We all gather like in the living room or in the dining room, where technically our school room stuff is where our school stuff is gathered. So sometimes we'll work in there. It's just wherever they feel comfortable. Sometimes my teenager will escape to his room and he'll come down with his little assignment notebook saying, I did it all. And so because I let them have a lot of freedom to make the choices that they want to make in their day on how they accomplish all their stuff, they don't really resist too much. Now, on the days that maybe, say, Caleb is like sensory overloaded, or maybe he doesn't have enough sensory input, then I gotta get creative, because he needs to make progress and he needs to be pushed, but he can't be pushed so far that he'll shut down, because that'll happen and then he can't learn. And I don't want to force something if their wall is so up, they're just not going to learn, that flat out nothing is going to be retained, nothing is going to get in there and stick. What I'll do then is I set small goals. So maybe if an entire language arts lesson is not going to happen, which can be a page, it can be 4 pages, then maybe we'll do half the page. But I come up with the goal. I don't let them come up with it. I want to make sure that they know that they still have to follow my rules for school and they still have to accomplish things. I don't just let them say, oh, well, I'm having a hard day and I really don't want to do school, because that's going to set us up for really hard days a lot of the time. I give them a small goal. We meet it, then we move on with something else. Maybe that day we'll have less language arts and more science because they love science so much, or it'll have more art. And I can fit ways to do core subjects into more creative subjects. That is also why I started reverse lesson planning, because it was really frustrating to say, okay, we're going to do this, 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 and this, and all this is going to get done. And then we had a sensory meltdown, or my oldest son was struggling with anxiety and really could not sit and focus on math, or whatever happens. When you have a family of special needs kids, a lot of things can derail your day. So as many little ways as I can find to set them up for success and myself up for success, I will do. And that is constantly being tweaked and constantly being rearranged, because they constantly change. With sensory processing disorder, every time they go through a growth spurt, it's like starting from square one all over again. And it's very overwhelming if you don't know how to roll with it. So I roll with it. So those are the questions that I am going to answer for you guys today. Thank you so much to everybody who sent in questions. If you haven't subscribed yet to my channel, I want to invite you to do that if you feel interested to follow our journey. And hit the notification bell so you stay up to date on all the videos, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.